My name is John Pasfield, and the title of this reading will be Bethune Video 8, The Reflective Journal. This is my novel, Bethune, the only person alive in the world. In this video, I'm going to read from the journal which I wrote while puzzling out the shape of the novel. The title of the journal is The Making of the Only Person Alive in the World, and it can be found and accessed for free on my website, johnpasfield.ca. The novel is 49,000 words, so almost 50,000 words, and the journal is 75,000 words. So what's that, 2/3, 1/3 or something like that. 50,000 word novel is 75,000 word journal reflecting on the novel. It records a half year of creative work from October 2015 to March 2016. In this reading, I'm going to present 5 passages as a sample of what the Bethune Journal contains. So here's the first passage, number 1. On Friday, 5 days ago, as I was writing this note, I began to work full-time on a novel which I'm going to call Bethune, the only person alive in the world. Now that phrase, the subtitle, is from a Bethune letter, so it's how he saw himself at times. I feel as if I'm the only person alive in the world. A little egotistical, but well, it suits him. He's the one who said it. My first reference to a possible novel on the topic of the life and concerns of Dr. Norman Bethune is dated October 2009, 6 years ago. Over the years, while writing other novels, I've accumulated a planning notebook of thoughts on the topic of the proposed Bethune novel. And in this note, the first note of the Bethune Journal, I will consider my sense of the novel form and the ways in which I see the topic of the life and work of Dr. Norman Bethune lending itself to the John Pasfield novel pattern. So I have the novel form, the novel pattern which I've devised, and I have the information of a story that interests me and that seems to suit me and my concerns, and I have to match them up as I start the serious planning. I had 6 years of the odd note jotted down. Here's the serious planning. Okay, passage number 2. Planning note 1 is a general note on the ways in which I see the elements of the historical Dr. Norman Bethune's life and work matching up with my conception of a John Pasfield novel. In this note, I'm going to go over my planning notes, which will be published as Planning the Only Person Alive in the World, and discuss the elements which I have considered as possible ingredients in the proposed novel. This will be a matching of the concepts and techniques which I have developed over the planning and writing of 17 novels to date, and the image queries that I see as available in the Bethune experience. So once again, my techniques, my form of the novel, elements from the Bethune life and career, matching them up. In order to do so, I will reverse the pyramid of the idea envelopes and start at the lowest level. The level at which I decide on the elements which it seems logical to me at this point to want to include in a novel on this topic. In effect, planning note 2 will be an attempt to sort and clarify the notes that I have made so far in the planning of a Bethune novel. So I had to look and see something in my earliest notes that would allow me to move on and make more notes, and of course in the process of writing the novel. Okay, segment number 3 from the Bethune Journal. Planning note 2 is a review of the elements that have suggested themselves to me as ingredients which I would like to weave into the fabric of my Bethune novel. In this note, I will work out a tentative structure into which to weave these elements. It will be a blending of the elements and techniques by which I have come to weave the idea structures of all my novels and the elements and techniques which will allow this novel topic to reach its fulfillment as a unique configuration, a unique configuration. Now, I have all kinds of technical terms that I've kind of made up as I've gone along in my novel writing career. I don't know, but I assume other novelists do the same. I've read all of the sort of the standard terms in the writing books, denouement and climax and crisis and so on, but I find it more practical to make up my own terms, and that way I'm writing my own novel, like I should say. Okay, segment number 4. Excuse me once again, from the planning notebook. Planning note 3 is a note about the potential image quarries, in brackets image sources, techniques and themes which I see in the Bethune story. I'm now working my way through the research period, which is a combination of making myself familiar in detail with the sources of the Bethune story and of making decisions concerning the blending of my preferred techniques of storytelling and the themes that I see as potential in turning the actual life of the historical man into the fictional life of the main character. As I am doing so, I am also dealing with a sense of uneasiness about the passing of my time and the amount of work in quotation marks, which I'm getting done. Realizing that this is a phase in the writing process that is both familiar to me, in brackets, this is my 18th novel, and hence my 18th experience of the writing process, end of that bracket, and new to me. So it's both familiar and new to me. In brackets, I've never written a Bethune novel before and have to puzzle out how to do it, end of bracket. So familiar because I've written many novels. New to me because I haven't written a Bethune novel. I thought that I would sit down and sort out what seems to be conflicting ideas. 1. Why am I getting so little done? Versus 2. Oh, the planning seems to be proceeding quite well. So 2 conflicting ideas at that time. It is, I realize, when I'm thinking rationally, a case of minor note, seeming disharmony, and major note, actual harmony. So if you have 2 ideas in your head, I'm not getting very far, and number 2, I'm sailing along smoothly. One of them is a major note, and one of them is a minor note, and so you just keep moving ahead. But that's the writing process, this feeling that this isn't really working. It's just a jumble of ideas versus, well, this is structuring itself. This is patterning itself so I can move ahead and actually write this. 5, here's the 5th section. Planning note 4 was written exactly 1 month ago today, so there are gaps in the journal as I work away at turning my thoughts into the words of the novel. I've had a good month. I had a brief spell of uneasiness when I wondered how to tackle the outer frames of the 3 major cycles, Canada, Spain, and China, but when I put the hours into reading over the image quarries and thinking, the information formed itself into a thematic pattern, and then the writing took care of itself. It was a case of making logical plans, in brackets, a novel structure plan, and a chapter structure plan, end of bracket, and then puzzling out how to put that plan into action. As in the past, the what, in brackets, the thematic idea, was clear and logical to me, but the how, in brackets, the shape and content of the minor cycles, in this case the outer frame present moment minor cycles, end of bracket, gave me some hesitation. However, I now have a rough draft of the outer frame minor cycle and ready to move on to the next phase of the writing process. So by that time I had written all of the actions, the outer frames, the stories. Now I had to sort of find the inner imagery, the inner thought, to fill them out and make full chapters. So just a sort of a stage in the writing process. But the 2 words, what, why, I want to write a novel on Norman Bethune. What? Well, a man who saw that there were things wrong in the world and tried to change them by being a doctor in some very troubled circumstances, war zones, in fact. But then the how, the how is the difficult one. It's the bulk It's the biggest question to answer because it takes the bulk of the writing process to answer that. So those are the 5 then passages that I selected from the Bethune Journal. Now here's a note that I wrote on a related topic. Usually these notes are more general. They're about writing and novels and so on. Reading a work of literary art is the title I gave this one. So, what do we do when we read a work of literary art? Well, we do 2 things. One is quite straightforward, and one is quite complex. First, we enjoy the work as written, every word, with our conscious minds. Secondly, with our subconscious minds, we select from among the elements of the novel or play or poem elements that we perceive to be significant to ourselves. Then we turn in our subconscious minds these significant elements of the work of art into significant images of our life experience. Yes, reading a great work of art is an experience, a significant and personal life experience. Next, we fuse 2 things together: the significant images from the work of art that we've experienced and the significant images that we have created from the rest of our own life experience, from the life that we have been leading up until the reading of that book. The images that we have distilled from everything that we have caused to happen in our lives, or which have happened to us, and to which we have responded imaginatively, all recorded as significant images in our minds. The result of this fusion of images, all recorded as significant images in our minds, forming a new image pattern, a new personal myth, a new objective correlative, in the phrase of T.S. Eliot, in our subconscious minds. As a result of reading Hamlet, or War and Peace, or À la Recherche du Temps Perdu, and that image pattern is our understanding of the world in which we are living and of our own imaginative response to that world. We think that the result of our reading is the author's meaning of that work of art, but it is actually our own personal imaginative response to the elements of that novel or that play. And that is what happens when we read a work of literary art. We change the book, and the book changes us. And each time we have a new actual life experience, or a reading life experience, we form new image patterns of response, image patterns of speculative understanding in our minds. Reading a work of literary art is as much a response to the world as deciding to pay or not pay your taxes. Well, if you're interested in the theories and the practicalities of a novel as an art form, the complete Bethune Reflective Journal, all 75,000 words, give me access for free on my website, johnpassville.ca. Thank you for watching this video.